We have Singapore's sitting Prime Minister on the hot pot today. I have a little bone to pick.
This sounds like Parliament, huh? It's like questions coming to me about the budget.
Need to see them lose a few GRC, then can see good measures.
If more people feel like that and we lose more GRCs, then we may not be returned to power to govern the country.
Yep.
But that's what democracy is about. Singaporeans have the right to choose the party that will govern the country.
Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Hot Pot where we hop into different transitions in life. I'm Q.
I'm Nick.
I'm Joey, and you already know by the title of this video, and we can't believe we're actually saying this, Nick especially has manifested this very moment. We have Singapore's sitting Prime Minister on the hot pot today.
Hi everyone.
Let's welcome Mr. Lawrence Wong.
Hello.
Oh my goodness, we're so nervous.
Please
Our
don't be
hands, Look
nervous.
at our hands.
He's just a chill guy.
Because you guys are probably more experts at this than me. You've done more of these sessions than I have.
What a humble man.
We don't address the country.
Can I just say, right, so our podcast has peaked today.
No, I think you can go to greater peaks and greater heights.
When you
I'm
come
sure.
back.
Then you must come back every year. Okay, so as you all know, the Hot Pot is all about the real adulting struggles and transitions. And with that, we are seizing this opportunity to put PM Wong Sir in the hot seat today.
Okay.
Today, we are going to be reacting to people's comments on the recent budget 2025, addressing the concerns of young adults and getting some advice on how to navigate adulting in Singapore.
Very good.
So, first question for you. How in touch are you with the Gen Zs and millennials?
I try to be. I read online comments. I engage young people. So
Do you use TikTok?
yes, I do.
What does your FYP look like? Or is it no time to
He's Prime Minister of Singapore, guys.
I do a little bit of scrolling. I can't tell you what the main page looks like. Whatever pops up in the algorithm.
Okay.
So let's say I'm watching some US news. You know, now a lot of people are watching what's happening in America. Every other day there's something new. Dogs sometimes appears because music and guitars appears because
okay.
that's my
Yes,
interest
yes.
as well.
Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, before we begin,
Okay, this is the
this is where
highlight.
you kind of
Do
understand.
not be alarmed, sir.
I
We are
was
just
wondering
pretending-
why all of you are in trench coats and now you are not just in trench coats, you are...
We
You're
are getting in
detectives.
character. We need to investigate.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Not bad, right?
He called
bad.
us cool, guys.
It's giving like all too well 10-minute version. I love it.
So to kick things off, right, sir, we have here with us a list of comments taken from Reddit and TikTok about budget 2025,
Alright.
some adulting struggles, as well as a bunch of questions crafted especially for you.
All right.
First, let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay. What
Budget
is the elephant in the room? Pray tell.
Budget 2025, vouchers and financial aid.
Yes.
So there's this screenshot from TikTok.
Okay.
Someone called him Voucher Wong and I haven't stopped laughing every time I think about it.
Yeah. Well, I suppose people will make memes and jokes about the budget, about me. I saw one with me as God of Fortune too.
I saw that actually.
I'm
Do you laugh?
certainly not the God of Fortune, nor am I Voucher Wong.
Okay, we have another screenshot on Reddit. I think it is time these vouchers stop. It's like trying to solve a very specific problem with a very broad brush. These vouchers just result in inflation as there is so much additional money supply coming in from the government. Remember how hawkers started charging way more since the inception of these vouchers?
Well, there is a valid concern here. You cannot overdo stimulus measures or support measures because if you overdo it, it will cause too much inflation. But actually, if you look at the overall budget and you look at the experience in previous years, it's not the first time we have done CDC vouchers. I think we have been able to manage it without causing inflation. And in fact, inflation has been coming down. It has been easing last year and it will continue to ease this year. Prices remain high, as it has been in many other countries because of inflation when the Ukraine war broke out, when there was energy supply chain disruptions. So inflation was very high 2 or 3 years ago. It has come down, but the reality of high prices still remain with us. And people are finding it hard to cope. That's why the vouchers have been given in the budget to provide support for Singaporeans.
A lot of Singaporeans actually have been saying that they want cash
They
over
want cash,
vouchers.
yeah.
What's your take on that?
Our aim is to provide support, to help Singaporeans through and help them tackle these cost pressures. We found CDC vouchers to be quite effective. We started this, like I said, a few years ago. It was well received by families. It helped families get through difficult times. And it also benefited the hawkers and the heartland merchants. So we thought it's a good way to provide help to not only Singaporean families, but even the shop owners, shopkeepers who are also struggling.
Yep.
And that's why we have continued it in this budget, and we've provided additional vouchers for this SG60 package. But in fact, it's not either vouchers or cash. You don't have to choose. We are giving both. We've got vouchers in the budget, but there are also cash support measures in the budget as well.
So we know you play guitar, okay? And after watching your performance with Raw Earth at Timber, I think I figured out your favorite chord progression.
Why? It's just blues.
No. It's C, D, C.
Why do you say that?
Because C, D, C, ma.
She prepared very long, the
I
question.
prepared very long.
She rehearsed that for 1
I
hour
really did.
straight. She managed to slip that in.
Okay, well done.
But it's all about making sure that people are spending the money in the right places, right?
Well, we hope so. Half of it can be used in supermarkets, which is really daily groceries,
Yep.
which will be very, very helpful for families. And then the rest are in hawkers and the heartland shops, which people go to as well. So I think these are concrete ways in which we can help Singaporeans. And we know that every bit of support does matter. That's why we are doing everything we can to help Singaporeans tide through these cost pressures.
Okay, next point on housing and finance. Okay, the first comment says, was hoping for more measures to cool resale HDB prices, ... And then the next comment says, singles are still second-class citizens, especially when it comes to housing. Any thoughts on that?
Well, two different comments. The first on cooling measure. This sounds like Parliament, huh? It's like questions coming to me about the budget. It's good.
Just that we're dressed as detectives, lah.
Yeah.
A bit different.
We've had cooling measures not too long ago, and they are still working their way through the property market. So we didn't have it in this particular budget, but the key cooling measure, or one of the more important cooling measures, is in fact to build more supply. Because we had a supply crunch due to COVID disruptions, not enough flats were built, and we have been catching up since then. And even when we catch up with new flats, remember when you buy an HDB flat, you cannot sell until 5 years later. So there is a time lag. The resale market will take a bit more time, but eventually it will stabilize. Singles is a different issue. Singles, I know there's a demand and desire to buy when you're younger, but at this stage when we are still trying to stabilize the market for families, we just don't have enough flats to build to accommodate even more singles or to lower the age limit. So we will consider that at a later stage. I think our focus now must be to stabilize the market, which we are working very hard on. But as far as new flats are concerned, we have made a lot of progress. This year, the latest BTO launch, the application rates for new flats was something like quite low, I think below 2, and it's below pre-COVID levels.
Oh.
That means your chances of success
Much higher.
of getting a new flat are much higher, and the waiting times are shorter, and we are still pricing new flats very affordably because we are not taking reference only from the resale market. We price it to make sure it's affordable for Singaporeans.
In general, and I think it's not unique to Singapore as well, rising property costs globally and in Singapore. How can young adults in Singapore budget wisely plan ahead in terms of like preparing to purchase their first property without also feeling like, I'm constantly like on a hamster wheel trying to chase after a moving target?
So our assurance is precisely because we have HDB. So many other, I don't know of any other country, in fact, that has the same housing policy as Singapore. We have public housing. Only Singaporeans can buy HDB. And we have enough land to build enough flats for Singaporean families with present rules, right? So we will make sure that there's enough supply. We will price the new flats affordably, and every young Singaporean can be assured when they want to settle down, there will be an affordable flat for their budget.
Amazing. Sold. On that note, we move on to wage and cost of living. So someone says, stop asking for wage growth, which in turn leads to higher cost of living. It does not lead to better standard of living. So on that, why are wages rising so slowly compared to the cost of living?
There is a point in that comment, which is we have to be careful not to push up wages too fast, because wages and costs are two sides of the same coin. But still, we do want higher wages. And the way to get out of this puzzle of wage costs spiraling up is to make sure that the wage increases are supported by productivity and skills. Then when the worker is more productive, they contribute more to the company. It doesn't necessarily have to mean higher prices all the time because there is greater value provided by the worker. Then what will happen is incomes, wages will rise faster than inflation. Then we should feel better off. We shouldn't feel like wages go up, inflation goes up, and then we are still equally the same. Wages rise faster than inflation, so we are better off in real and concrete terms. That has been happening over the years. The difficulty was the 2022 period, 23, when inflation globally was so high.
Yeah.
And this is not just in Singapore, it's everywhere around the world. Inflation has come down, but I think around the world, people are still adjusting to the effects of that period of high inflation.
Yeah. So with that, managing inflation and also maybe trying to upskill, the work-life balance it's very hard to find that middle ground. So what do you think we should do to ensure that we don't burn out while trying to balance career and personal life?
I think first of all, I would suggest find work that you think is meaningful and fulfilling. Direct your energies at a work that you feel is not just about a job, it's not even a career, but there is a certain calling to it. It gives you fulfillment and purpose. Because then you spend so much time at work, then you don't feel like you're just on an arms race. But even after doing that, when you think about what's important in life, I don't think anyone at the end of his life says, I've done a lot of work. I mean, when you think about when we were faced with COVID and we were confronted with our own mortality, what was important to all of us? I think a lot of it comes down to the people closest to us, our loved ones, our family, our friends. Relationships matter. So one must find a balance even when you are busy at work. Always make sure you set aside enough time for yourself, your loved ones, your friends, and your family.
Actually, I'm very curious, how do you deal with stress, like work stress?
Yeah. Do you ever get burnt out?
I get stressed out, not necessarily burnt out.
Of course.
On a near constant basis.
Every single day.
COVID was a classic example,
Yeah.
especially the height of COVID, 2020, 2021. Lots of moments of high stress and sleepless nights. How do I cope with stress? I find time to go out into nature for walks or jogs. That helps me. I enjoy music, so I listen to music, but I also play music. So I play the guitar at home and I de-stress and unwind like that.
What's your favorite genre of music?
Rock and blues.
Love that.
Go and start to
Love that.
sing.
Do
some rock and blues next time.
Gotcha.
Actually, on that note, when you're talking about during the COVID period, can I just say that my whole family, every day when we see the Facebook Live, right, then I'll walk past and we will see all of you all sitting at the table doing the press conference, right? Wow, Shaq. So I think everybody agrees it was very well handled.
It all feels like a bad dream now when you look back. All in the distant memory.
Definitely feels a little bit like
Hopefully
that.
we'll never have to encounter anything like that
Fingers
again.
crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, we have one last one about general election.
Yes.
We know it's happening this year. I'm even scared to read this screenshot. It's a
okay.
bit...
I feel a bit wrong to
I
ask.
feel wrong. It's not from me. It's not from me. Okay, the screenshot says, need to see them lose a few GRC, then can see good measures. No, I say one.
Well, I know these comments are online. I suppose this is reference to the budget itself.
Yeah.
But I think if people feel that the budget is an election budget or a generous budget, it's possible only because we have been managing our finances well and responsibly. And so we have the ability and we have the resources to help Singaporeans. And I think it's the right thing to do. We have been doing it over the last few years. Like I said, it's not the first time we are giving out vouchers. We have, over the years, depending on the situation, we have in fact enhanced some of the measures. We are doing more this year in the budget. And we will continue to do it for as long as these measures are needed. Assuming, of course, we win the election, because I don't take anything for granted. If more people feel like that, and we lose more GRCs, then we may not be returned to power to govern the country.
Yep.
But that's what democracy is about. Singaporeans have the right to choose the party that will govern the country.
All right, so moving on, we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. Speaking of GE, right?
Okay.
2020 GE, I have a little bone to pick. There was a list of...
2020 GE.
Yes.
Okay.
She holds this grudge for
I don't
5
make
years.
grudges. I don't make grudges. I just remember very clearly that there was a list of essential and non-essential jobs.
That wasn't GE, that was pandemic.
COVID, during COVID, during that period. Yeah, during that period. Like, it was that period.
Yes, okay.
He fact-checking you.
Sorry, I'll leave. Okay, as a fellow musician yourself, right, do you feel like we are non-essential?
Yeah, there was a survey that was done and during the pandemic, I remember. And then they had a list of essential and non-essential. I don't agree with the survey results, but perhaps it reflected the sentiments of people at that particular point in time, because when you are in the, I think this was right after the pandemic started,
Yep.
and everyone was so concerned about all these, your emergency, your doctors, your nurses. Naturally, you rank them high in the list of essential
Definitely.
workers.
Yeah.
So I think it's contextual. When you ask who you ask, what is the circumstance? But if you think a little bit more about how we got through COVID and the entire pandemic, I think arts and culture and music played a big part in it. People would listen to music. They would watch performances online. They may play instruments to de-stress like I did. And I think that played a big part in enabling us to get through the pandemic.
100%.
So I would certainly consider arts, culture, music as essential.
You're important, Joey.
I just called you
You're
essential
important.
by the Prime Minister.
He actually never said that to you.
No, he looked at me though. The eye contact was there. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to clip it. So for young Singaporeans who want to pursue their passion, maybe in non-conventional paths, like in now content creation is such a big thing,
Yes.
right? Music, being online.
Yeah.
What government support is there to make that possible without having to rely solely on side hustles?
The government wants to support different pathways, and we are saying that just not in words, but you see it in action too, because we now have the School of the Arts, we have sports school for some time. We have just started a new University of the Arts. And then beyond education, if people are able to excel in these fields, arts, sports, there are different programs and support measures to help them. But beyond arts and sports, I think your specific question was also about content creation. I do see many young people more and more pursuing sort of pathways around content creation. And I think if it's something that over time you are able to create a good following, you get views, you are able to monetize some of the views, it is one way in which you can make a living too.
Yeah.
Okay, next, right? I'm very passionate about financial planning and budgeting, but on an individual level. So I'm very curious, right? When you all were doing budget 2025, or actually budget every year, what does that process look like? Because obviously at the country and national level is a completely different scale.
Yes.
How long does that take? And then what is the process that is in place?
We start planning the budget around maybe September, October of the previous year. It's like any personal budget. You start by looking at your revenue side. You've got to look at your economic projections, your different revenue streams, project for the year ahead. Then you look at the spending side. And on the spending side, some of these are what we would call baseline. And so that's predictable. And then you plan for that. But then you have new spending as well, depending on your revenues, of course. Then you can start thinking about what new items to spend on. What are some of the requests from different ministries? What are some of the priority areas? And then we can start to pull it together. That's why the MOF team usually gets very busy at the time when Singaporeans are on holidays in December. That's the peak period for the MOF team because they are working on the budget in December, January. And then we finalize it by the budget time, which is usually in February.
Does it look like graphs, pie charts? Do you all use like Google Sheets? I use Google Sheets now. I don't think you use Google Sheets, but what does that look like? Do you all have to, are you a visual person?
I am. I'm a numbers person. I like charts too. So, but they...
He loves it.
It's
his branding.
Yeah, his whole life is in a pie chart one.
Yeah.
I mean, the analysts and the team would have their own different tools they use to look at the figures. When they present to me or when I look at it, sometimes we just open up an Excel sheet and you can see the figures, you can see the data, and you can look at.
We use the same system as you.
Okay, and on a more personal note, right, in terms of like personal financial planning, I'm curious as well, like any financial regrets on your end, like things that you spent money on in your youth that you're
20s.
like, should I have done that? Maybe a guitar.
Yeah, possibly.
How many guitars do you have?
I've sold a few.
Oh,
So
okay.
obviously meant I had purchased too many.
So do you have gas? Not like stomach gas.
Guitar
Gear
gear
acquisitions.
acquisition syndrome.
Wow, you also know.
Look at that.
this one she rehearsed one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compare careless. Mine very hard.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have not been playing regularly, that's why. But yes, I mean, when you at that, when you are at the stage, you are young, you are trying to think that you can be a better player by getting that better gear.
Yeah.
Then you
It's a
buy.
slippery slope.
And
It is.
it can be a slippery slope. Yes.
Actually, you said that you sold a few. Then, like, how you do your carousel meetup? They go to Parliament to meet you.
Not recently. Not recently.
Okay.
I mean, in the past.
Collect at Parliament.
Collect at, yeah.
Collect at Parliament.
And I did sell one time to a shop, guitar shop.
Oh, you went down?
Yeah, in
directly?
Excelsior.
Wow. Then they be shocked or not?
Oh my god.
Or they know you coming.
You know, I know the people
okay,
there.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question pod.
Oh my gosh.
That's a real moment.
Pot. What, solidified leh. I want to invest in this pot.
So today's question pot is a little bit different. We're putting Prime Minister Wong as our Aunt Agony. So
Okay.
he'll be giving his 2 cents and opinions about our hypothetical situations.
These are hypothetical questions, or these are real questions posed by people?
Hypothetical.
Oh.
Might be a bit personal to us, but with a bit of embellishment.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
First scenario. Dear Prime Minister, it's Nick here,
Okay.
an aspiring 40-year-old retiree with big dreams and even bigger expenses. So I've got this grand plan to retire by 40. But my lifestyle might need a little adjusting. I spend a lot on traveling and funding my love for coffee. What expenses do you think I should cut down on to make that happen? Also, I need to stay cool. What trendy hobby should I pick up so I can still look like a legend in retirement at 40?
All right. It's not going to be easy to retire at 40. I think you would know that, especially when we are all living longer too. We are SG 60 now, right? So when we became independent, lifespan was about 60 years old. Now it's 85. And I'm quite sure we will see it becoming more and more common for people in Singapore to live till their 90s or even 100. Imagine you retire at 40.
You got 60 years. Eh.
What you want to do?
What are you going to do for the rest of your 60 years?
You want to be legend lah.
And how do you manage, sufficient retirement income to sustain the rest of your 60 years? And then it's a different form of lifetime management. Careers are no longer so straightforward and linear.
Yeah.
It's not just work and retire, but you can have different phases of life. You
Yeah.
can have a second stage, third stage. You can work one season and then you can take some time off. And then you can perhaps have a different season of life, different kind of work, right? And so I think that makes it a little bit more interesting,
Right.
more varied. It's more of an adventure. But if you take that broader lifetime perspective, then it's continually learning, applying yourself into new areas. And again, the government will support everyone in this because we now have Skills Future. And it allows us to pick up new skills and transit into different areas.
Actually, on that note, what are your thoughts on active aging? Do you think that Singaporeans are, in general, like good at aging, or they are very sedentary after they retire?
It's hard to say, but we do know that when people are sedentary, when they're isolated at home watching TV and not doing anything active, it's very easy for them to start to deteriorate in terms of their health. And we've seen that in so many examples. I've seen that in the case of my own late father too. When he had his dementia, when dementia started to set in, and he couldn't go out that often. And then the more he stayed at home, the worse his condition became. And that's why during COVID, we were so worried about our seniors.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't go out, they couldn't interact with their friends.
Yeah.
They didn't have that outlet, and they were just stuck at home, and we were very worried about their mental and also their physical health.
Right.
But I think generally speaking, we've been talking about Age Well SG, Healthier SG. We've been encouraging more active aging groups. We do see a lot of positive take-up. So that's encouraging, and we want to encourage even more. And best to start the habit from young.
Don't wait until the knees pain.
Your knees pain already.
A bit pain.
My knees
A
pain
little bit,
already.
yeah.
I think the day I turned 30, my knees a bit.
I just turned 30 and my lower back, the state of my lower back is quite embarrassing.
Okay, the next one. Dear Prime Minister, Q here. Speaking on behalf of all the single women in Singapore who are still on a hunt for a life partner and hopes to move out one day into our own place. But home ownership for singles doesn't seem possible before you turn 35. Dating apps aren't exactly working in our favor too.
Why aren't they working in your favor?
Have you seen the...
It's not great, lah.
Yeah, not great.
Me telling Prime Minister is not great.
I don't know.
No, because the youth of today are more focused on real life, face-to-face interaction.
Sure.
Everyone's just very selective and they don't give each other a chance. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned, I love my parents, but I would also love to have my own space. Sometimes it feels like having my own home is very out of reach. I don't know how long I would have to wait.
I can't give you an answer now because, like I said, we are still trying to stabilize the HDB market on the basis of today's rules. If we were to open up the rules so that more can buy new flats, then there'll be more demand. Then we have to make sure that we have enough supply to meet the additional demand. So let us stabilize the market today first, and we should get there. And once we are in a better position, certainly we will look at other groups, including singles.
I have hope.
Actually, any thoughts, sir, on multi-generational homes, like how to navigate that? Because I think during COVID, it was quite interesting. Some families got a lot closer.
Yes.
And then some families, there was a bit of friction because of the extended amount of time they spent together at home, which they're not used to.
Generally, we have seen more people moving out to live on their own. And so household sizes are becoming a bit smaller. It's one of the reasons why we have today's market situation. Because not only did we have a disruption in supply, which means we couldn't build enough flats, but demand grew because people started to break up into smaller household units. Because of the pandemic, you work from home and then you start to say, I need my own space. So we see that trend. On the other hand, as you say, there are also people who want to stay together or nearby. And we do want to encourage that. So we do have 3Gen flats, which are quite popular. We also have a proximity grant scheme. Typically, someone moves to a new flat, but then the parents or the children want to buy a resale flat nearby. Then there are grants provided for that, which also is quite popular. So we do want to encourage that because I think that helps with family bonding. It helps with children spending time with their parents or even parents being able to look after the grandchildren.
Dear Prime Minister, Joey here. Professional multitasker and certified hobby hoarder. At this point, I have more income streams and my hobbies are so diverse. Music, painting, teaching, content creation, you name it. How do I stop myself from burning out while juggling all these projects? And on top of that, I do think that this is a common issue with a lot of freelancers who hustle nonstop and no CPF. So how can I find structure and financial stability as a freelancer?
I think it's wonderful that you have so many different hobbies and you are able to multitask all of them at the same time. But as you yourself say, you have to find your balance and perhaps identify the ones that you excel in. Because once you start to think about doing this for a living, it goes beyond hobbies. Music is a hobby for me. I will never be able to make a living out of music.
I think can. I watched the video, I think can.
I don't think I've reached that level, but I enjoy it. And it's a good way for me to hang out with friends, jam together and de-stress. And I would like to continue doing that for as long as I can. And I know many friends who are like that too. But if you start to think about some of these projects as income streams, you would probably want to identify those that you are really good at, has potential to take you to the next level. And then perhaps it will mean a clearer portfolio of projects. Not too many, but focusing your energies on a few that makes more sense for you. The CPF issue is a real challenge for freelancers and gig workers or self-employed people for that matter. We do have a MediSave scheme, and I will encourage you to go on that because that helps you with your healthcare expenses, insurance coverage, everything. Then beyond MediSave, the contributions to CPF is voluntary. I think it's very hard for the government, we will of course continue to review, but to say it's mandatory, I think there will be a lot of reaction. Because many freelancers and self-employed people have so many different needs, and some prefer the flexibility of having it voluntary. So if it's voluntary, then it's really up to the self-employed person, with whatever job they are doing, to make the effort to top up to their CPF from time to time. And I think it's worth the effort to do so because it's a good system. You are able to save, you are able to get a risk-free interest rate, which is a good interest rate, and then eventually get something for when you retire.
Okay, tonight I go and put inside.
Yeah.
We will keep track. Every month we'll check with you.
Must send you and I your statement every month.
Screenshot the
So I'm not
amount.
supposed to send to people, right? So before we wrap up, do you have any final advice for our young viewers out there who are going through the thick of adulting?
I understand that going through this phase can be overwhelming at times. There will be many new responsibilities that you are not familiar with. Getting a job, earning an income, paying bills, having your own family, thinking about planning for the future, your home, so many things. But I hope everyone also looks at it as, in a way, an adventure of a lifetime. No one will get it right.
True.
There will be mistakes, there will be setbacks, there will be challenges. But each time you encounter a setback or a challenge, embrace that in the right spirit, learn from it, improve, have that outlook in life that will enable you to continue to flourish and thrive and always strive to be the best possible version of yourself. It's not just what you do in your 20s or in your 30s, but you are always trying to improve and trying to do better. And as far as the government is concerned, we would also be there to help you and walk this journey with you and support you in whatever way we can.
I love that.
I can hear our national anthem in
Yeah,
the
same
background.
in my head. I feel like I need to stand up
Now,
now.
Gaze, this is for you.
Then the flag will be waving in the back.
Thanks so much for watching this very special episode of The Hot Pot. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Me Listen.
And subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
And finally, thank you to our dear PM for graciously taking time off to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
You are officially a Tauge!
Hey!
And we will see you on the next episode.
Bye!
So feels the most intuitive to me.
No, he said the one.
I'm not. I'm easy. I'm easy.
Okay.
I mean, you guys are pros at this, right? You must have done so many.
But
You
it's
do every
usually
week?
just the three of us.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
have a
we
guest? I
totally
thought-
did not rehearse twice before you came, you know?
But you have. You
no,
don't
we
have
do-
guests.
we do have
you do have
guests,
guests.
We
yeah.
do have guests.
But no one is the Prime Minister
They don't
of
run the
Singapore.
country lah.